Hi there guys, welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy. Continuing on with my franchise review series today, covering the last decade, 2006-2017. This episode will be focusing on the Atlanta Falcons. So what I'm doing for this series, I'm breaking down the record for the last decade, giving you playoff appearances, Super Bowl wins, losses in this case, and as well as any coaching changes, and then reviewing the last 10 years of draft. I'll explain how that works once I get to it. Apologies to those of you who've already seen the videos for having to hear me go through that again. I'll try and make it quick, I promise. Right, so the Falcons, 3 head coaches in that time. The disastrous Bobby Petrino year in 2007, Mike Smith from 2008 through 2014, and Dan Quinn from 2015 through to the present day. Falcons have amassed 90 wins and 70 losses in that time frame, so that's not bad. Matt Ryan's been pretty consistent there, and that's 3 division titles and 5 playoff appearances, so not bad, especially considering how up and down this division can indeed be. Of course, last season being a fantastic season for the side. So let's get to the drafts, see if there's anything there that will help us out. So grading first off. So I'm going through the first 3 rounds for every team, giving players that were solid picks, good picks that they'd be happy to have made. They're getting a solid +1 to a team's overall score. Players that just are fine, you wouldn't necessarily regret it, but you wouldn't be excited about that pick. In hindsight, no score. And then you've got your bust there, -1. Players drafted in rounds 4 through 7 who end up making a contribution, the vast majority never see the field, will be designated as value picks and add +1 to the team's score. In the Friday episode, I'm going to get all the data from each of these episodes, collate them all. It's going to be a really interesting episode, lots of breakdowns. We'll really be able to see if there's any correlation between the teams that have been good and the teams that have been poor in that regard. So, 2007 draft for the Falcons. In the first round, Jamal Anderson, with the 8th pick overall, defensive end, he was a bust, did absolutely nothing. In the second, Justin Blaylock, the guard, he was a solid player for them, good pick there. Also in the second, Chris Houston, the defensive back. I'll be generous here, I'll give that a mediocre. It could be a bust. He played a few years. For a second rounder, I'll just go mediocre. In the third, Laurent Robinson, the wide receiver. I'll go bust. I don't think he did quite enough in the league. And in the fourth, Stephen Nicholas, the linebacker, good value pick. He was a pretty good player for them. In the 2008 draft, this goes down as one of the best. Also in that Friday episode, we did my 10 favourite and least favourite. This could be one of my favourite classes. So, 3rd overall pick, Matt Ryan, the quarterback. That's got to go down as solid. When he joined that franchise, it was just after Michael Vick disaster. He's been a very solid NFL quarterback. He's been a few seasons where he's been great, others where he's just been maybe average, slightly above average, but definitely a solid pick. With the 21st overall pick, Sam Baker, the offensive tackle, had a lot of injuries, wasn't particularly good when he did play. Has to go down as a bust for a first rounder for me. In the second, Curtis Lofton, the linebacker, they got some good years out of him. That'll go down as a solid pick. In the third, Chevy Jackson, defensive back, he was a bust. Harry Douglas also in the third, probably goes down as solid. He's had a reasonable NFL career. Thomas Deku also in the third, that was a solid pick, been a good player. And in the 5th, Croy Bierman, good value pick. Was a part of the rotation for a number of years and reasonably effective doing so. Moving on to the 2009 draft, we've got Peria Jerry, the defensive tackle at 24. He was a bust. In the second, William Moore, the safety. He had a pretty good career. It'll go down as a solid pick. In the third, Chris Owens, the defensive back. He was a bust. And in the 7th, Vance Walker, the defensive tackle. Pretty good value pick. If he'd been a 3rd or something, it would have been mediocre. But for a 7th, he's had a pretty good career. 2010 draft. Sean Weatherspoon at 19. It was a mediocre selection. It could have edged towards bust, but I think he was maybe just good enough to edge into mediocre. I don't know. I'll go. No, I'm going to go bust there. I don't think he did enough to justify a first round selection. In the third, Corey Peters, the defensive tackle. Solid, mediocre pick. Mike Johnson, a guard in the third. That goes down as a bust. He never did anything. And in the fourth, Joe Hawley, the centre. He's now playing for the Bucks. Turns out he was a good value pick. So, yeah, that goes down. Point for the Falcons. Good job. In the 2011 draft, the big trade, getting Julio Jones at 6. Now, I will account to some degree whether there's a big trade made. This is still a solid pick, obviously. He's, debate is him or Antonio Brown. Who do you prefer? Both great receivers. Solid pick. In the third, Akeem Dent, linebacker. He was a bust. And in the fifth, Jaquiz Rogers, the running back. Pretty good value in the fifth. He's not a bad player. Contributed there. Now also in Tampa. The 2012 draft, Peter Cons, the centre in the second. That's a bust. In the third, Lamar Holmes, a tackle. He did nothing. He was a bust. Moving on to 2013. Desmond Trufant, the corner, at 22nd overall. Really good corner. One of the better corners that most people don't seem to have heard of. That's a solid pick. In the second, Rob Alford, the defensive back. He's contributed for the team. He's been pretty solid thus far. Give that one a solid. Moving on to the last 3 drafts. I sit on the fence a fair bit more here. Some of these players haven't played enough, of course, so there's a lot more mediocres, undecided sort of things. If I feel strongly, though, I will grade a player. So 2014 draft, Jake Matthews with the 6th overall pick, the offensive tackle. I'm going to give this a solid, mainly because I think he's played pretty well for them. He's continually improved, and as I've said before, tackle play, there's not a lot of good tackles in the league at the moment. So I think this has to look like a good pick at this point. So good job there. Rashid Hageman in the second, undecided there. In the third, Desmond Southwood, a receiver, I believe. He's not even with the team anymore, so he's a bust. In the fourth, Devonta Freeman. He's been great value for a 4th rounder. So, yeah, great job there. He's a very good running back. 2015 draft, we've got Vic Beasley with the 8th overall pick. I don't like the way he plays the run, but he had a lot of sacks last year. I suppose I have to give it a solid. I have to hope he'll improve that part of the game. But at the end there, if he's getting double-digit sacks every year, that won't matter. Jalen Collins in round 2. He's been reasonable thus far, but jury's still out. I'll not make a decision there. In the third, Tevin Coleman, the running back, definitely solid. Him and Freeman are fantastic 1-2 punch in that offense. And in the fifth, Grady Jarrett, the defensive lineman. He's been pretty good for them. Obviously had a great Super Bowl, but he was their best defensive lineman last year, so it goes down as a great value pick. Last year's draft looks pretty good thus far. Keanu Neal, I thought he looked good this season. I think he'll be a good player. Willing to give that a solid with the 17th pick. Or similar with Deion Jones, the linebacker, continued to improve as the season went on. I think he's a good player. Solid there. Austin Hooper, the tight end, no grade there. Undecided at this point. So pretty good job by the Falcons. 14 solid picks, 7 value picks, and 12 busts. They've got a good number of players out of it. More busts than most, but also more good picks than most. Some great value there. His team's done a good job. It totals out to a +9 score. So one of the better scores. It shows this team, is in particular lately, they've been doing a really good job. 10 first rounders, 6 solid, 3 busts. Well, 4 busts because I've decided to make Weatherspoon one as well. Not a great ratio, but really what they've done well is they've found players to contribute and contribute at a reasonable level. The 7 value picks is one of the best scores in the league. +9 also, yeah, puts them in the higher bracket. Done a pretty good job, particularly as of late. So what do you guys think? Check out the Friday episode. All of this will make a lot more sense and it'll be really interesting, the breakdown. I think you'll enjoy seeing some of the stats there. I've really enjoyed the research for this series and making these episodes. I think they're very, very interesting personally. Hope you enjoy them too. If you got any comments, Facebook, Cover Zero, comment section below on YouTube, find me on Twitter. It'll be greatly appreciated. I'll do my best to get back to everybody. Like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon, all that good stuff. That'd be swell. And as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you enjoy this, check out some more of the videos. Definitely check out the Friday one. Thank you very much for your time. Pleasure as always. Go Bucks.